Hey listeners, and welcome to the You Are Epic podcast. This is where we honour the people who've helped build not just our industry, but our communities. I'm Angela Hucker, and I am so glad that you're here. So I'm taking the time to sit down with people who've been in construction for years, people who've been through the ups, the downs, and everything in between. You're going to hear real stories of resilience, growth, and moments that shaped who they are. This podcast is for those that want to learn more from people who've been walking this path for some time, and they're helping to lift up others and quietly making a difference along the way. It's also to show you that your journey matters and your voice matters. And in case you've forgotten, you are epic. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Alex Herrera, who is an absolute powerhouse in the Australian electrical industry, leading complex infrastructure projects. From high voltage substations and solar farms to massive transmission lines, Alex has done it all. He's currently head of project management at ABB Energy Industries Australia, where he mentors project teams and drives high impact energy projects. His past roles include leading projects at Powerlink, Downer and UGL, connecting clean energy to the grid and shaping Australia's energy future. He brings deep technical know-how, extensive leadership experience, and a serious passion for building what powers the world. And it is so awesome to have you here today, Alex. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ange, for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here and very delighted and honored for this opportunity just to talk about all the good work that you've been doing. I've been following in very recent years all the good work that you've been doing. So any way that we can support you and provide a little bit of ideas or wisdom into what we've been doing. Thank you for the kind words. That was a very polished bio. So really appreciate it. But yeah, happy to be here.
No, it's awesome. And the honour is all mine. I feel very privileged to have you. So what we might do is just get started with how long you've actually been in the industry. You've got a lot of experience, and I know you've come from your native country to Australia. So would you like to share that journey as to how long you've been in the industry and how you got started?
I started working as an engineer involved in the electrical industry back in 1997, I think it was, when I got my degree. Fresh out of uni, I started working in some small projects in the distribution space, just some local networks in the country. But I focused my profile into the time that I spent here since 2000. So it's been, 25 years working in the industry in different capacities. So sometimes as a project manager, overseeing the whole delivery of a project or a number of projects. I've been involved with managing multiple projects simultaneously. I've been also involved in the management of the engineering part of a project, just either the design or sometimes combining the design with commissioning, mostly on the contractor side, pretty much all the time working with a EPC contractor or a DRC contractor. As you mentioned correctly, I spent a bit of time as well working with Powerlink, a government-owned corporation, on the client side. So I wanted to have a look at what it felt to be working on that side of the fence. But as things happen, I got pulled back into working the construction side now with contractor side with ABB. When I'm doing a little bit different, there's not much of construction on this type of work, but it's all about supporting the energy industries, like you mentioned, entities involved with the energy transition. So just to work in upgrading their systems in terms with automation of plants, interfaces with the operators, and moving into promote more of the ABB product into the industry. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. 25 years. Doesn't feel like it at times, but yeah, it's been great. I'm really pleased that I've had great opportunities to meet great people like yourself. So yeah, it's been a very interesting road.
And it's that breadth and depth of experience that you've got with being able to work the different roles that you've had and sort of work your way up as well, from the electrical engineer to project manager and now head of projects as well. So I'm curious to see, like, with all the experience that you've got, what are some of the common issues that you see that happen across the board?
That's a good question. Yeah, I thought about it myself. I would just focus on the people aspect, like whether you or I've been working as a project manager or design manager, engineering manager. I've been blessed to have the manager title added to my role, but it's always people manager. So whether I have to coordinate the efforts of a team of engineers or people on site, construction crews, this particular job that I got now, working with a team of project managers and project administrators, that's the common denominator, whether it's engineers, construction workers, project managers, support team. On a project, it's always the people factor So it's always been about developing skills and abilities to navigate those waters, understanding what's driving people, how the challenges for people, how do we help them to develop themselves. So it's just the people factor that to me is a common denominator.
And do you see that leaders do a good job at that? Or is there more that they could do in that space to help the people side?
It's been a mix, to answer your question. There's definitely a lot of good leaders, people that have been in the industry for a long time. But like anything, you're not able to choose who you have as a leader. So there's been a mix of really good ones, people that really understand what drives people. Definitely a lot of room for improvement. I think a lot of businesses focus on that right now in terms of supporting good training and development plans for leaders. But it's a very difficult industry. As you know, it's a hard dollar industry. So there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stresses, there's a lot of competition. And in my view, that comes at the expense of sometimes just not treating people the right way, particularly when you have tough environments or situations like COVID, when we experience having a pandemic or a little bit of a recession or the economy slows down, political turmoil as well. So there's a lot of factors that has a big impact on the way people treat each other.
And so with the people, like what's kind of the approach that you take with being able to help manage the people that you've got and being able to set them up for success?
I would say it's always trying to focus on something that everybody wants. And I refer to this in a sense that as we, after you spend a bit of time in the industry, like I have, like 25 years, I get to the point where there's a lot of younger people coming in. So I look back at when I started, I look up to the senior people for guidance, for mentorship type of thing. But as the time passes, then I realize there's a combination of different people. And looking at a country like Australia, obviously there's a lot of diversity. So regardless of age or gender or background, everybody's looking for the same thing. And to me, that's respect. When we talk about things like Gen X or boomers or, all these denominations, millennials, in my mind, everybody's looking for the same thing, and that is respect. How do we ensure that people feel respected? It means different things for different people sometimes because of this diversity aspect. But yeah, it's always about trying to find how do we maintain respect for everybody.
How do you find respect to be able to, if everyone's looking for respect, so how do you go and find what the respect is that the people you're leading of what they need to feel respected?
Sure. Like this, having the time to really engage in conversations and be able to listen, try to understand what are the motivations for everybody on the team, for people that are working with you. Because as I said, it's different for everybody. For some people, it's about public recognition in the workplace. For some people, it's about having flexibility to work from home, for example, or time off with their families. Give a quick example. We're about to finish this weekend Ramadan. And so we got a lot of people in the team that need to follow due to their practices and beliefs. So allowing the time and flexibility to deal with this, because there's a lot of requirements that perhaps non-Muslim people are very familiar with. But things like that, and everybody's got, okay, this is what I need my time, understand I'm fasting for this period of time. How do you work with them? How do you organize meetings? Just to be able to work out what's important for them. And as much as possible as a leader, try to provide it.
So it's understanding not one approach works for everyone, that everyone
exactly right.
needs their own different approach because everyone's different as well. So
exactly, everybody's got different motivations. As I said, could be family time, could be status, could be recognition, could be remuneration. That's what we all do. We all work for a paycheck at the end of the day. Yeah. So as long as people feel fairly compensated, I think that's important as well. But you're absolutely right. It's not a cookie cutter approach for everybody. So that's what makes it challenges for leaders.
And so it's about leaders actually taking the time to get to know the people who they're leading, to understand what kind of drives them as well.
Exactly right. Yeah. Just be open to try to get to understand cultural differences, sometimes political views that comes to play as well. But yeah, just be able to understand your team and who's there and your peers as well, your managers, leadership teams. Yeah, it's not easy, right. Easier said than done. But in my view, that's what is driving a good, respectful environment.
So then to be able to take into consideration, because the thing is, obviously, as you touched on, everyone's got their own needs based on different backgrounds and cultures and beliefs and religions and all the different bits and pieces that come to the table with diversity. So how do you then actually put that into a framework where you can actually have a cohesive team? What sort of steps do you take?
Well, there are tools out there that can help us to achieve that. I mean, definitely in terms of company policies, for example, but at the same time, legislation. And as you surely are aware, these days is not just so much about focusing on the physical safety of the employees and the workers, but also the psychological safety. So what that means is that as managers and leaders, we have to become aware of that. So in terms of developing a framework, I think that's got to be supported in that. So there's company policies, there's regulations, there's legislation. Training, I think, is very, very important. So opportunity to get people in a room, preferably, and talk about all these things that are coming to play and impacting the well-being of the teams, right? So yeah, supported by policies, legislation, training, regular interactions, follow-ups with the team.
Yeah, which is super important because, at the end of the day, everyone's working to a common goal, but I use the analogy, it's like a football team, like we're all on the same football team. And even with when you're either the client, the principal contractor, the subcontractor, whatever it is, you're actually all on the same football team because you're trying to get the same goal. You're just playing different positions. And it's how do we actually create that cohesiveness, not just in your teams, but then dealing with those stakeholders as well to be able to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve. And I know you've been really successful over the years, particularly with the projects that we worked on together. What was that, 14 years ago? We worked on
Correct,
a
yes.
number of projects together with, being able to achieve that project success. So you're very good at that relationship building and understanding people and, knowing what kind of helps drive people as well. And I think it's really valuable what you've said, because if more leaders and more people took those steps, it would probably help, in my view, to reduce potentially some of the issues that actually go on in the industry. What's your thoughts on that?
Totally agree, Ange. I think when you talk about the analogy with the football team, spot on. It's all about the communication within the team. Everybody's got a role, everybody's got an objective, but at the same time, there's like a team goal. So it's making sure that everybody is pulling in the same direction, but that's only possible with good communication. So when I was talking about training before, that's what I was talking about, like getting people in the same room. And it's not talking about the traditional training where there's a person with a PowerPoint pack, just talking about different things. Just to have conversations, just engage in that dialogue, talk about examples, and breaking down some taboos. What I mean by that is calling things what they are, right? So you'll be surprised, and I'm sure you're very familiar with this, but a lot of people out there, they're not 100% clear about what things mean. So when we talk about things impacting respect, so these days, and connecting to my previous comment about psychological safety, when people talk about things like bullying, sexual harassment, sex-based harassment, which is, as you know, different than sexual harassment. What is that exactly? What does that look like? And how do we prevent it? How do we work? What do we need to do to fight those things? Because at the end of the day, they're all hazards. So when you assess physical hazards in the workplace, and then you come out with a risk mitigation technique, same thing with psychological or psychosocial hazards, right? And understanding the obligations. And the thing is, as I said, call things by their names. It's not about what you do, but what you don't do. Understanding that the liabilities, if you like, not only so much for people actively engaging in bad behavior, so bad practices, but the people around it, the people that don't do those things, but by being quiet or remaining silent about those things, it has an impact. So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to training, having those conversations, open communication, get everybody to understand what's happening.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it's actually being able to create the environments where people feel safe that they can say something as well.
That is correct. That's the obligation that we all have, the duty of care to make sure that everybody's safe, not just from, the traditional trips and falls. Everybody talks about that, but it's just about the impacts, making sure everybody's safe psychologically and continue to work.
Yeah, and it's a big part. I mean, there's a lot of focus at the moment on the mental health and the well-being and the psychosocial hazards in the industry because, I mean, it's great that now it's been recognised and legislated under the Workplace Health and Safety Act.
Exactly, yeah.
It's taken until 2023 for that to happen, and this stuff's been going on for decades. So, but, there's obviously a lot of catch-up now to happen to bring people up to speed with what they've got to do to fulfil their duties that they've got to do as well. So, but
at the same time, we've got to be, remain hopeful that there is change and work early, early intervention, if you like. So I could keep connecting, going back to my comment about training and development, just just to start early. Things like what you're doing yourself to bring these type of discussions at the early stages of training when people are starting with their careers. And I'm talking about people fresh out of uni or even before that, for year 12s out there that's trying to work out what's going to happen with their lives. People choosing to follow a trade, for example, that's got to be part of it. People understand respecting the workplace, talking about study cases of bullying, harassment, all those things. That's the only chance we have, really, to start talking about this early, because by the time people get to senior roles and they haven't that sort of educational process, it's too late. It's too late. Yeah. So it's about starting early. We got to be hopeful.
Yeah. And it's good that now there is a lot of focus on it and a lot more people are aware of it, because before, particularly mental health, it was a bit of a stigma if you spoke about mental health, but now there's an openness. But there's still, obviously in construction, it's still male dominated, and there can be a bit of a perception that it's weak to have emotion because you perceive that you've got to be tough and everything as well. So
that's right. Yeah.
And thanks for sharing that, because that's super valuable and it's something that's really important. It's something that I'm very passionate about as well, because I've been a woman in the industry and I've dealt with a lot of those issues. Yeah. And it's helping to pass on knowledge and wisdom to then help set up the next generation and give them the training and the tools they need that we didn't necessarily get. So then that way they don't have to go through the experiences as well. So
absolutely.
So with some of the projects that you've been involved in, because you've been involved in a heck of a lot of projects, I'm just wondering, have you got any project that's an absolute standout for you?
Everyone, Ange, I think, a lot of people say that for somebody involved in project management, every project is like a baby. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of outcomes there to be proud of. I wouldn't single one in particular, but I think maybe there was one during the time we were going through the pandemic. This is when I was with Downer. So we had a project that it was nice in a way that integrated. It was an integration project, not only with substations, but we had a little bit of work as well on transmission lines. So we had to design and build some transmission lines at that project, 220 kV. So very interesting design with towers. We have to build a solar farm as well. We have to work on brownfields and greenfields. This is a job that I did. I was not the project manager. I was just managing the engineering. So that was in the West, in the Pilbara. So the experience to have to travel regularly to site through Perth and then heading up north, it was very interesting. Have the opportunity to be exposed to what it means to be on site for some extended or pre-planned durations because of shutdowns and travel restrictions and testing. So I saw a little bit of that, and obviously there was people on the team that experienced all that way worse than I did. I wasn't subjected to anything, but people were there for a long time away from families. But at the end, everybody just pulled together and we managed to deliver a good job for the client. So yeah, that's a project that had a lot of learnings for me. Absolutely.
What were the key takeaways that you got from that?
Wow. One in particular perhaps was we had a lot of weather challenges, not only working throughout the pandemic, but just the unexpected weather in the Pilbara. That was a big one. So trying to complete the work on the solar farm, trying to complete the installation of those towers and the transmission lines. It doesn't rain, it just pours down for a long time. So access to the sites. Resources obviously was a big challenge because not only through what I said before about COVID, but just there's a lot of projects happening. So trying to secure good resources. But again, it comes down to what I was saying earlier about people management, right?
Yeah.
So we got people based in the West, based in the East, some people coming even overseas. We have some visa holders, student type of personnel that were in the country temporarily, unfamiliar with the dynamics of the construction industry, of being on site, to provide that support as well. So always coming back to the same about people management.
So from you being a very well-established leader with lots of experience and stuff, for anyone wanting to step into a leadership experience, what sort of advice would you pass on to them?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's different things. I mean, the one that always comes to mind first is about finding somebody that can provide a bit of coaching and mentoring.
Yeah.
I was very blessed to encounter that very early on my career during my time in Australia. Someone that will always be keen to talk to you, find out what's happening, provide guidance, sometimes against your own desire, because sometimes you don't know what's best for you. But yeah, I would say try to identify people that are involved in the industry and they can provide their views and thoughts about different things. Get out there. So by all means, to experience what it means to be on site, not only being sitting in the office, particularly for engineers. That's a good opportunity to develop some skills, not only about technical abilities, designing things or preparing drawings, studies, or manuals, but just to work on site, understand about management, logistics, the safety on site, just spend a bit of time on site. But I always go back to the same point about people. So surround yourself with people that have been out in the industry, ask questions, and be brave. Dare to go out there and put your hand up and try to find that person that can help you with coaching and mentoring.
Yeah, awesome. I love it, because we all need a coach at the end of the day. So
100%.
And what about some of the human skills that, like a potential leader needs to be able to be a good leader? What's some of those skills that they would need to take on board and learn?
I would say a good one would be to find a shift between the traditional management approach into true leadership, to the point that it's not just about leading people in the workplace, but also help people to grow and develop. Going back to what I was saying before, identify what's driving certain people, what's motivating certain people, and help them to develop those abilities. I always try to, and I achieve it a few times, where I have people on the team that come to the project, and I like to go back at the end of the project and they're ready for the next assignment. Not so much to do the same thing on the next project, but also to take a step up. So I've seen it through, people that work in projects as project engineers, but through that experience, they have developed the skills that on the next assignment, they're ready to take on a project manager role. So help them to transform themselves. Some people call it transformational leadership. So it's not just your regular managerial duties day in, day out, but just as a leader, just really find ways, and there's a lot of support and literature that you can access, how to help to transform others and excel in what they do. And again, easier said than done, but it's possible. I've seen it, because at the same time that you help others transform themselves, you also grow in as a leader. Yeah.
And it's investing in the people to help elevate them as well. So
exactly right. Yeah.
No, I love it. So in closing, if you could pass on some valuable information to anyone listening, other than the awesome information you've already shared so far, but something that kind of you go, if I had the opportunity to tell someone this, it would be whatever it is. If that's a comment, a statement, a tip, what would that be?
Right. Okay. That's a good one again. I would perhaps refer to something that might be like a combination of different things. By all means, trust your instincts. If something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, it's probably is not right. So a lot of people, when it comes to work opportunities, if the job doesn't feel right, if the culture is not right, just get out, just move on. If you feel that it's not the right place for you, or you are not the right person for that place, because that can happen as well, just make a decision. It's, again, not easy, but there's a lot of opportunities out there. So trust that instinct. Someone is telling you this is not right, the culture is not what it should be. That means being honest to yourself, which is the other thing I was going to say. Just remain honest to yourself, to say, look, this is not for me. Be brave. By all means, if you want to get different set of skills or being exposed to different type of industries, be on the lookout and build a network around yourself. This is very easy these days with LinkedIn. Obviously, when you have connections, that a lot of people are posting things about, what's happening in the industry, or many things that is good for people to learn. So yeah, just trust your instincts, remain honest, be honest to yourself, and be brave.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's so simple, but it's some people do struggle with that as well. So
correct. Yeah.
No, I absolutely love it. Well, thank you so much, Alex. It's been an absolute honor to have you and tap into this awesome leadership experience that you've got as well. I appreciate the opportunity I had to work with you all those years ago, and then knowing the impact that you had on me, and knowing that you're helping a lot of other people as well with the position that you're in. So thank you for everything that you're doing for the people around you, and for being a part of this. It's been a true gift. Thank you.
I appreciate it very much, Angela. Thank you for giving me the chance just to come here and share a little bit of what I've done, what I've seen, and some of the experiences that I had in the past. Obviously, when we worked together, we did very well. We had a very good team around us. So yeah, I'm really pleased that you give me this chance to share some of my views on these things, and I hope people will find it useful. So anytime, I'm here to help and make a contribution if we can.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ange. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode today. I hope this conversation gave you something that you can take with you, whether it be a little bit of insight, inspiration, or maybe just a reminder that you're not alone. If it resonated with you, please share, because we're better when we help build each other up. And remember that your experience, your story, and your journey, it all matters more than you know. Until next time, stay kind, stay connected, and never forget, You are epic.